have Bill McInnis here. He's the VP at Reebok Future. It's the brand's innovation house that creates new technologies, techniques, and prototypes. Here, state-of-the-art software and robotics are literally drawing and printing shoes in 3D. And prior to Reebok, Bill was at NASA for 4 years. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you very much, Alison.
So, Reebok Future, it's a very interesting place. Can you tell me a bit about it?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, we were told to put together this team called Reebok Future, and our goal was to look at products 3 to 5 years out into the future. We quickly learned nobody has the patience to wait 3 to 5 years for anything. It became more like 1 to 2 years out, but it's solely focused on changing process. So how you make things, where you make things, and who you make things with should fundamentally change what the end product becomes.
And so what are some things that have come out of Reebok Future?
So Liquid Factory is kind of our first big push. So we just rolled that out in December of last year. And it is a brand new way to create shoes. And the idea was molds are used for every shoe on every shelf from every brand. Molds are very expensive, they're very time consuming, and they require a lot of labor. To make shoes without molds is what our goal was with Liquid Factory. And we took a very different approach to 3D printing to do that.
Cool. And yeah, like what do some of these shoes look like? I know you were showing one in your talk. They're super vibrant and bright. And
yeah.
What else is unique to them?
What's unique on the first one that we launched, for example, is shoes have had rubber outsoles since 40, 50 years ago. This has a special polyurethane blend that's really the same material that's used in a Super Bowl. So the bounce in these shoes is dramatically better than a traditional shoe as well. So our goal was, if you're going to make something completely different, you should have performance benefits that go all the way to the consumer.
It's awesome. And can you really feel the difference?
You can.
You can. Very cool. And so 3D printing has gone from really a tool for rapid prototyping, making prototypes, to manufacturing real products. What have been some of the steps into 3D printing moving in that direction and advancing?
Yeah, so we've used 3D printing at Reebok for over 20 years now, and it was 100% a prototyping tool to improve on the really old process that was in place when I first walked in the door. Fax machines, believe it or not, were kind of the method of transmission, of drawing, sending it to the factory. Wooden models were cut, sent back, and interpreted and sent back. So 3D printing as a prototyping tool really streamlined that process immensely. We always looked at it as potentially, could we ever do production with it? But the materials weren't right, it was too slow, it was too expensive. So it was great for making one thing, but not yet great for making hundreds of thousands or millions of something.
So materials, price, those were kind of barriers.
And speed.
And speed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what have been innovations with materials that have allowed it to become more than a prototyping tool?
The Liquid Factory process, we didn't buy a 3D printer. We bought into an industrial dispensing machine that we make act like a 3D printer. So it basically draws in 3 dimensions, layer upon layer upon layer. And in doing that, it can use polyurethane. So polyurethane is a great material for shoe bottoms. Typical powders or liquids that go into 3D printers aren't. So this was our way in to use a material that's great in a process that's much faster.
It's so exciting hearing this. It's such a shift from the general type of production.
Yeah.
And so some people might think Reebok and 3D printing, how did that come to be? What's the process of been discovering this kind of marrying of resources?
So it started from we manufactured our first 3D printer ourselves. We basically had a caulking gun hooked into a CNC machine and basically pushed down on the gun and dispensed material and saw what would happen with it. And it was our way of sort of speeding up what we saw from the 3D printers out there. That was probably 2 years ago. From there, it was partnerships with the right players in the industry, and ours was a company called Rumpf out of Detroit. And just a lot of pieces all came together. So a lot of these sort of innovations are being in the right place at the right time with the right partners when things all come together.
And a lot of companies struggle with innovation. They set it as a priority, but it's hard. What do you think Reebok has been doing right to be able to prioritize it and succeed?
I think the focus on process has helped us a lot. So if you just want the next cool shoe, you're going to tend to use the same tools that you already have. And even with new processes like 3D printing, the thing you want to avoid is using that brand new process to make something that looks like everything that came before.
And so is there something that technology or something that you're looking at right now that you're very excited about?
Yeah, we actually have something that's completely outside of 3D printing, and it's a concept called cotton and corn. And they're shoes that are made entirely of materials derived from corn and cotton, much like the name implies. So they're made from things that grow, and they're also made from things that decompose. So the idea was to look at the entire shoemaking process, the front end, the use, they have to be cool looking, to the end of the process where they turn back into dirt, and that was the goal. So that's another very different concept that we're very excited about.
Wow, so this is in concept phase right now?
This is in concept phase. We did a PR launch, and later this year we'll have a few out there on the market.
Cool, and so are some of the newer funky products, those available on Reebok's site, or are those more niche?
So we usually launch them on Reebok.com and with one of our partners. So with Liquid Factory, for example, we worked with Finish Line. So we had some pairs, they had some pairs. We did a small run and they disappeared in less than a day.
Wow. Are there any other new materials that you guys are exploring or that you have in mind?
Yes, and I unfortunately
We're not going to talk about that. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
And so a theme here has been automation, collaborative robots. Are any of those things entering Reebok's production as well?
What we're doing with Liquid Factory, for example, is we've got a sample lab, a Liquid Factory lab down in Rhode Island right now that's up and running. What we're going to do is basically get multiples of that machine and build an entire production line so that basically at the one end a sock goes in, at the other end a finished shoe comes out.
Wow. That's incredible. I'd love to see a time lapse of that.
Right.
And so what has been your inspiration behind your work, or what sports do you personally play?
I actually still play ice hockey, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah.
Favorite ice hockey team?
Would have to be the Bruins based on where I'm from. Yeah.
And you're also a runner?
Yep, still a runner as well. Keep in shape. One of the great things about working for a fitness company is fitness isn't just encouraged, it's almost required. And when you're working on new product and new running shoes and product like that, the first guinea pigs in testing that are the people that create it. So it's a blast.
I can imagine it's a blast. It's also a type of ownership with your products and a real authentic connection with what you're innovating.
Yep.
And in what ways might science fiction at all influence any of the products that you're making?
It's funny, we just did a presentation over in Spain, and my lead-in was a little piece from Westworld, the opening credits, where they're basically drawing in ligaments and things like that. And the purpose of that was, as cool as that looks, there already are artificial joints and artificial ligaments. They just don't look quite as cool as that yet. So I'm a big believer in, as things get closer and people start dreaming about what they can do with them and sort of graphically displaying them in science fiction, those things tend to translate into reality eventually.
And do you have any far off dreams that you would love to see hit stores in 5-10 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think what everybody's after is how do you get to one-to-one customization. So somebody walks into the store and they walk out with something that's different from what everybody else walks out with because you're different. Your tastes are different, your size is different, how you run is different, and it's all built sort of bespoke to you. So that's I think the long-term goal of a lot of people out there, not just us. And as you see the pieces kind of come together, it starts to become a lot more realistic to do.
And are there any trends within the sports apparel industry that you kind of are watching right now or Reebok is excited about?
I think my perspective is all focused on process and how you make things and where you make things and who you make them with. So one of the things we're spending a lot of time on, and I think other brands are too, is looking outside the existing industry. So there's big factories that everybody works with, and when you work with the same people, you tend to make the same type of product.
Yeah.
When you jump outside the industry to people who've never worked in footwear before, you tend to get very different results. So the partner we have on Liquid Factory is called Rumpf. They've never made a shoe in their life. They're fascinated with our process as we are with them.
That's great. I think a theme that we've been hearing from a lot of speakers is the importance of a diversity of ideas and working with people who don't just think like you do, don't work on the same things, and how that really helps lead to innovative products.
In fact, we're gonna live it very shortly as an entire company. So we're currently based in Canton, Massachusetts, and you've been to the facility before.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's a beautiful facility.
Yeah.
But it's out in the suburbs, and you pay a price for that in terms of you don't bump into enough people out there. So later this year, we're going to move into Boston, into a brand new facility downtown, where we'll have neighbors that are completely outside the athletic shoe industry that we'll bump into on a daily basis.
Well, yeah, it makes me think of like when people talk about the origination of the West Village in New York. It was all about creatives bumping into each other.
Right, and we're seeing the same thing with GE coming to Boston. They're sort of out in the suburbs right now. They've got the exact same intent.
And so, do you have shoes on right now that are?
So I have
Reebok Futures, or?
I have shoes that were from the old school Reebok Futures. So these are Pump Furies, and believe it or not, these are from 1995.
No way.
Which was right as I was walking in the door of the company.
Oh, I remember these. These you push and the air fills.
So you pump them up, they fill around that. So they were way ahead of their time. At the time they came out, they were in crazy colors. I've toned them down because of my age. They were in crazy colors, and people didn't know what to make of them.
Yeah.
But that was the beginning of Pump and Running. So that was an early product that came out of the Advanced Concepts group, and that's something I still like to go back to.
Do you have like a home collection of vintage, far-off Reebok shoes?
So much to my wife's unhappiness, yes. Every once in a while, she will organize a purge of the shoe closet. So, yeah, way too many. I happen to be the men's sample size in footwear is 9. I happen to be in 9, so the Cinderella effect takes effect as well, and that I have sort of one of everything.
Cool. Bill, thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure.
You bet. Thank you, Alison.